Whose death from the three was the most tragic to see? Juice WRLD, Lil Peep, or XXXTentacion? I remember where I was at the moment that I found out about each of their deaths. For Lil Peep, it was the morning after, and I remember being shocked because it was the same day as my childhood best friend's birthday, and Gus reminded me of him in some way, which made me start listening to him, give him a second look. I thought maybe I forgot something, but that's a story for another time. Jared, I woke up so late because I just got back from Texas. I was down shooting a documentary for pediatric cancer awareness, and I remember it was my mom's birthday, and the first video I saw was a conspiracy theory about him still being alive, and I just was so like shocked in kind of a stunned way that was I really felt like there was like a vertigo on reality for a few hours. And then when X died, June 18th, 2018, that was really crushing because I just remember people hoping for his death when it got reported that he was in the hospital because of some legal issues he was going through. And I remember that really spoke to me in a deep way. I was someone who even kind of, looked on X's past pretty harshly. You could look at even like his first interview with No Jumper. Seems like he was a very, very troubled individual who targeted people for something that they couldn't control in some instances, and that really tarnished his reputation to a certain degree. But I think the tragic part about his death is that it really did seem as if he was turning around. Now, whether that was just to appeal more to a mainstream audience or as he recognized his growing influence on the youth, he wanted to kind of brighten up his image, or even if that was just for purely legal reasons, he did go out on a high note. Even things with like the Helping Hand Challenge. I remember watching his YouTube vlogs. It really did seem like he was finally able to kind of lift off the dark shadow that was placed on his heart coming up in such a disadvantaged situation. Now, Peep, the tragedy there is the potential lost, and from who he came from as well. It's just the fact that both his parents graduated from Harvard, but his father's infidelity led to Peep's demise in a lot of ways, I think. Although out of all three, I like Peep the most. I would probably have to place him at third in terms of which was the most tragic, since it was knowingly consuming substances that could end your life, although no one deserves to have a spiked, substance, obviously, which is why he passed away, and the negligence of all the people around him who were really just using him for a meal ticket at that point. Even though his girlfriend at the time, a lot of people criticized her in a deep way, he was alive until the day after she left. So at least, even if it was purely like a physical relationship there, at least she had his back in some way. Now, Jared, I would say, had the most raw talent out of all three of them. He could just walk into a studio. I saw a Chainsmokers interview. They said they played like one chord and he was ready to go when they ran out of beats one time. They have 4 unreleased songs with him. Seeing him freestyle for an hour repeatedly and turn mistakes into a happy accident, rest in peace Bob Ross, that was something beautiful about him, and that's what I think made him I think I want to put Jared number 1 above X, and X at number 2 in terms of his overall cultural influence, raw numbers, and just the impact he had while he was alive. Juice WRLD's career was slightly different, although I feel like he didn't get as popular as X before his passing. Gus had such a unique sound about his music, though. We really have no idea where he was going to go with that. There's been some attempts to try to like kind of revive what he started. There's this artist Lil Wave you should check out if you like Peep's music. He's kind of up and coming, but nobody's been able to recreate the raw authenticity of Gus. And one of my favorite things about Jared is how much he appreciated Peep and his music. I remember that's the first thing that really made me acknowledge and respect Juice WRLD's personality and his integrity. He also came up from an extremely disadvantaged place. I know in one of his freestyles, something along the lines of where people don't live to see 20. Sadly, he passed away just 6 days after reaching 21. But in terms of showing people that no matter what you come from, no matter what your background is, if you come from a single parent household or an orphanage, you could still be heard in a way today that it's never been able to happen before. I think that's a beautiful element of the technological revolution that we're all living through right now. So overall, I'd have to put Jared number 1. No, wait, no. I'm going to have to take that back. In terms of whose death is the most tragic, because Jared also inadvertently consumed an amount of substances which led to his demise while probably, trying to avoid some ramifications of being inspected by the police with like 70 plus pounds of a leafy substance on the plane, plus some other things. And then looking back at what happened with X, you gotta put Jose at the number 1 spot. His is the most tragic, but not only because he lost his life to senseless gun violence and the terrible irony that X met Ski Mask originally in jail for armed robberies. Who liveth by the sword, die by the sword. But it seemed like he really did put that sword down. The real tragedy comes from the other lives involved. Not only his family, but the 3 individuals that are going to be spending the rest of their lives in Florida State Prison. All for $50,000. That's why his death is definitely the most tragic. Because not just one young man lost his life that day. 4 men truly sacrificed everything in that encounter. Well, I've just been thinking about this a lot lately. Wanted to put my thoughts out there while it was fresh on my mind. Thanks for watching. Check out my song, Normal Lies, Little QB, if you want to check out my sound. There's a tribute to Peep in there. Peace out. God bless.
Your new bikes. What's it?
You ain't nigga dead good, I can do. One bad bitch from the woods, I'm a fear. See a killer in the ear, see a Jeffrey. I can tell she a feelings, I can read her like a. Don't take no around the effort, don't be in my understood. I don't need no money to be savage. But when I want a molly, I can see it. you